Suddenly realising I've had a theme tune for the last 50 years. Maybe you remember me from off the radio, although it's quite a while now since they kicked me out. Maybe you saw the poster and you found it quite intriguing and you're wondering what the show is all about. Maybe you were dragged in by a friend and you don't know who I am, and now you're worried I'll start stinking up the joint. Maybe you're just wondering why you came in here just now. Well, that's the point. Maybe I've been wondering how I've stuck this out so long. What if anything I have achieved? Maybe I've been asking if I'm jacking in right now, or the fans be devastated or relieved. Maybe I've been reflecting on how everything I do is doomed to disappear and disappoint. Maybe I'm just wondering why I drag my ass out here. That's the point. That's ever going to sound. Let's move on. Oh, this town has had such significance for me for so many months because this is the last night of this tour. Why we decided to end it here, I don't know. But it's just the last one. It's as usually what usually happens when I have a tour. My good pal Richard Buckler, RBM Comedy, who promotes my tours, phones up every venue that's like conspicuously too big for me in the entire country. 3/4 of them tell her to piss off, and the ones that don't, he very meticulously arranges in the order that makes the least geographical sense possible. So yeah, why not end up in Teignmouth in Devon? We're having one of those real Google Maps is trying to kill me moments on the way here. Is it in the sea? I think this gig is in the sea. The pavilions disappeared without trace in the storms of '87. I don't know. But thank you so much for coming out this evening. Why are we here? I don't mean that in the existential sense as why any of this here. I just mean that in literally the sense of you and me in this building right now. What's going on? What it's all about. Well, I'm going to hazard a guess that you guys are here to see me. Yeah. And I'm going to stick with that guess because nobody's left yet. And this has happened. And I have it on video. It was the very last show of the 2019 Edinburgh Fringe, so I was recording it for training purposes. And I come out stage and I do the opening number. And literally halfway through the first song, two people who wouldn't you know it were sat like there, get up, go, oh, sorry, clank, clank, scrape, and out they go. And I was playing along to a track, so I couldn't even ask what the problem was. So I get to the end of the song, and I say, does anybody know that? Apparently they'd realised they were in the wrong show. But here's the point, folks. We were sold out that day. Yeah, piss off, it happens occasionally, right? So obviously, in order to make room for these two people who had not intended to come and see me, two people who had intended to come and see me, bought tickets to something else, went to talk to tickets to see me, accidentally went in to see something else, and moreover, stayed there. Because nobody came clanking into the, those two chairs stayed empty. So obviously a couple of people got tickets for me, one in the wrong room, fuck it, this is way better. So, we're all here on purpose. That's good. That's good. Perfect platform to receive from. As to why I'm here, why, that's an altogether more vexed question now, isn't it? As you can probably tell from that little opening ramble, this show, like most of my touring shows, did begin life as an Edinburgh Fringe show. I'm already working on the new one. And let's face it, there are only really, I've been going to Edinburgh Fringe on and off since like the late 80s. I've not missed a year that it's actually been on in like the last decade and a half now. But there are only really 3 stages in a comedian's career when it's a good idea to go and do the Edinburgh Fringe. And I am not at any of those 3 stages. First time, obviously, is when you're the new kid. Yeah, you're the new kid in town. Yeah, you've been going maybe a year, maybe 2 years. You want to kind of announce your presence to the industry, show them what you got, show them there's a bit more to you than 20 minutes of dick jokes in the clubs. That was me in 1995. Right? The next time it's a good idea to do the Edinburgh Fringe is when you're kind of this year's boy. You know, there's kind of a buzz about you. You're getting shortlisted for stuff and nominated for stuff. And closest I ever got to that, 1998. Didn't happen then, not happening now. And the only other time it's a really good idea to do Edinburgh is when you're already a big established TV star. You can run up for one weekend, sell out 3 shows at the Exhibition Centre in Fountain Bridge, and piss off home with £250,000. That is not, has never been, and ain't never going to be me. So what am I doing? Why do I keep going year by year out and then dragging whatever I've managed to come with up and down the length of these sainted islands of ours? Could it perhaps be that the immortal words of muscle-bound saxophonist Tim Capello of the Lost Boys fame, I still believe, fuck me, that's a reference sorts out the men from the boys, I still believe in the capacity of comedy to do good things and maybe even change things, even in the hands of a humble toiler at the coalface of mirth, such as myself. So come with me, if you will, for the next two lots of 45 minutes or thereabouts, and we will see if we can establish what is, in fact, the point. Yeah, cramming the title in there like it's a Roger Moore Bond movie. But one thing we are not going to do is the history of comedy, right? Because, well, it's been done, hasn't it, quite a few times by far cleverer people than myself, and it is all a bit dry, a little bit dusty, a little bit academic. Unless you could, I don't know, maybe get a bit of a beat going under it. Try and hammer through the whole thing in like 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Right, then it might be quite entertaining. What do you say? Shall we give it a go? Yeah. Very glad you said that because this was going to happen either way. Obviously, these men were not the first to do comedy. For centuries, people have been joking around, but they were more or less the first to bother writing it down. Plays and symposiums, they were composing them. Used to slip some satirical prose in them. Through mirth and philosophy, they taught us and brings us to the classes and plaudits. Now, chiefly remembered today as the source of inspiration for our Pompeii, in a household setting, his stories were drawn. Thus, the sitcom was born. It would satirize pomposity and snobbery and piety and many other facets of imperial society. Middle-class obsessions, valid and bogus, basically the good life in total. Yeah, not a lot of comedy in the dark ages. I guess it depends how funny you think the plague is, but now it's the Renaissance. Let's party! Buongiorno commedia dell'arte. Highly formalized and often in rhyme, the direct antecedent of your modern pantomime. It was kicking it in Italy when all at once, voilà moria on la mer France. No subject too sacred, no target too big. Think of me in Hislop in a powdered wave. He said, "Je suis the greatest satirist who ever lived." But see it very bad, says Jonathan Swift. Fat George's the Regenton, pretty soon he's getting stewed in Hogarth's cartoons, and soon the great and good will find their lunch getting eaten by Punch and George Bernard and Oscar the Irish intruders and musical and vaudeville they wanted ruder. And slapstick was also pretty groovy, and that really came in handy when they started making movies. Harold and Buster and Charlie were jolly, along come the talkies and Stan and Ollie in the 30s and 40s. Radio was king in the 50s, television got in the ring in the 60s in Britain. A young satyr boom overthrew a Tory government with help from Profumo. Lenny Bruce had balls of steel, but here come the Pythons, she just got so real. Yeah, your guitar playing raconteur folkies were anecdotal rather than jokey. The old school comics were still hanging around, but the alternative boys came to beard it all down, and thus was born the circuit. You can still make a living if you know how to work it. Now there's YouTube, all can tell, but for many of us, our careers consist on dragging ourselves around venues like this, so we travel with all the hope that experience will allow, that brings us up to you and me right here, right now. Yeah, we're not going to do that. That's about the only thing you can do. The trouble is, though, when you try and do a study of the importance of comedy, the meaning of comedy, you run into the immediate hurdle that nobody really knows what comedy is. Now, essentially, nobody really knows what it's for. The foremost sociologists, psychologists, anthropologists in the land, we don't really know why humor is a thing. I mean, it obviously serves some evolutionary purpose, or it wouldn't have been bred into the human race quite as concretely as it obviously has been. Babies laugh long before they learn how to talk. When still, as occasionally happens, we encounter an undiscovered tribe in the Peruvian jungle, first thing they do when they get a look at us is burst out laughing. It's a universally human thing, and it's a uniquely human thing, but we don't really know why it's there. Obviously some sub-purpose, but we don't really know why not. It's odd, it's an involuntary reaction to concepts. You know, certain ideas, images, stories strike us as sufficiently wacky and incongruous, and it provokes an involuntary physical reaction, which in many respects is not unlike the pain response, isn't it? You know, we lose control of our breathing, our faces contort, we double up, we make involuntary vocalizations. Oh, by the way, make the involuntary vocalizations, all right? One thing I will tell you right now, a room this size with a crowd this size in it is no fucking help to anybody when all you've got is the smilers in. Fuck that, make noises, continue to do so. But here's the thing, folks, we know why we have a pain response. We know what job it performs. It helps us to recognize and avoid physical damage. It's important. Same with all the other involuntary responses. Disgust. Some things are so noxious that we don't actually have to be in their presence. The very thought of them can make us feel physically ill. But again, we know why that reaction exists. It helps us to identify and avoid things which are toxic and harmful, like feces or expired food or Andrew Tate or stagnant water. It's important. It serves the purpose. And of course, the all-time classic, the horn. Certain ideas, images have a directly arousing effect upon us, but again, we know why that's there. It's to propagate the species, or to kill 20 minutes in a travel lodge when you got fuck all else to do. Just you and me again, Pornhub. But we don't know why humor's there. We don't know what job it does. All we can really do is look at the effect that it's had and assume that this has in some way become vital to human survival. And one effect which comedy has definitely had over the years is to maybe a little bit of the air out of individuals or institutions who are maybe getting a bit bloody full of themselves. And absolutely this is a function which goes all the way back to its very earliest practitioners. Maybe used to call me Harley Quinn. The 90s that just means Joker's girlfriend. Mighty of the Joker himself used to kind of bite my style. With his colorful clothes, there's an anarchic attitude and a fake smile. Back in the Middle Ages, when job was kind of cool, I was the only one who could call the king a fool. I could make fun of anyone, including lords and ladies themselves, and they'd always hear me coming in my hand with the dangly bells. Cause I'm a jester, human tester, every comedian's ancestor, cracking jokes and having fun. I'm a jeeper, barrel scraper, in my motley I will caper, getting the rise out of everyone. I just really trim this bit out, but I just really like the slide guitar part. But I'm the greatest thing that you ever did see. Remember Mr. Claypool and Rancher Ghosty, that was me, singing hey naughty 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 all the time, cracking jokes that didn't work back then, and singing songs that don't even scare or anything. jester, I like to pester. Shakespeare made one up named Fester. He was in 12th night if I recall. Number was Yorick, was historic. Used to leave the crowd euphoric. Though we only got to meet his skull. Says you can't do Steve Miller and Shakespeare in the same song. Take the boy out of Radio 4. Only the jester called the king a fool. An interesting notion, that, isn't it? And certainly that is one function which humour definitely performs on a regular basis, trying to sneak potentially dangerous ideas out into the discourse under the cover of humour. What dies when 'tis spoke is reborn as a joke. You know who said that? I did just. That's fucking good, isn't it? I'm straight. Not getting any attendance records. I'm getting the fucking dictionary of quotations. One bloody word. And you've got to say, I don't honestly know how much benefit the human race has really got from this over the centuries. But I will say that if it never achieved anything, if it never did us any good, then the fevered egomaniacs who seek to rule over us wouldn't be quite so desperate to avoid it at all costs and stamp it out if it's all possible. It is by no means a coincidence that the once and future turd Donald Trump is thus far the only American president ever to boycott the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You familiar with this occasion? Happens every year in Washington, D.C. Big gala dinner. They invite all the political journalists in town. The president always sits at the top table, and by tradition, at the end of the night, a comedian will get up and roast the fuck out of it, right? Now, the only other time the president did not turn up to the Correspondents' Dinner, Ronald Reagan, 1981, and in fairness, he had been shot the previous week. Trump just can't fucking face it. Has he got the balls? He can't act it. To his credit, George W. Bush went all 8 years of his presidency. And in particular, if you're going to go on YouTube and look for the 2006 dinner, you can see him sat there with a fixed grin for 20 minutes while being ruthlessly eviscerated by Stephen Colbert. Now, how much of it he understood? Anybody's guess. But the point is, he sat there and he took, Trump just can't play the turn up, can't face it, can't face it. And you've got to say that if any country, if any culture, any civilization has benefited from this throughout history, then it's us. It's the Brits. And the first time I said that, and indeed the last time I said that, I was north of the border, but the Union is still a thing, just. Not so much coming around with Scottish independence, just kind of recognising the tragic inevitability of it, I suppose. Don't get me wrong, it's going to break my heart when it happens, because I'm right down the middle, Scottish and English. And my Scottish side is very Scottish indeed, by the way. What is? Seriously. My last girlfriend was from Prestwick in Ayrshire, and every now and again she used to give me a bit of shit for being a plastic Scotsman. And one day I just snapped and said, "Baby, your name is O'Connor. Your entire family's from County Mayo, apart from your Lithuanian grandma, alright? My mum's name was MacLeod. Fucking MacLeod. Absolutely, my grandfather was born on Harris in 1902. Didn't speak a word of fucking English till he joined the army. I can trace my family in the Western Isles to the time of the bloody Vikings. I'm straight through Scottish and out the other fucking side." And yes, MacLeod as in Highlander were real. People think we were made up for Highlander, but we're not. We're the real thing. We exist. And I do love Highlander. How can anybody not love any film in which Sean Connery has haggis explained to him by a cross-eyed Frenchman? How can you not love that? Haggis? What is haggis? Sheep stomach stuffed with meat. What do you do with it? You eat it. Oh, revolting. Love that fucking movie. It's so good there was never a sequel. But being half English, half Scottish right now sucks. It's like watching your parents split up. But it's worse. It's like watching your parents go through one of those incredibly unnecessarily protracted breakups where all the affection curdled years ago, but they're just soldiering on, bloody-mindedly running on pure spite and seething with unspoken resentment, and all their friends are like, "Oh, when are those two going to call it a day?" I don't know. Apparently they're trying to hold it together for the sake of the Welsh. But in fact, if you study our history, I think you will find, believe you me, that you will see when our history is written. In many ways, on many days, comedy saved Britain. When much of the world by communism or fascism was smitten, we just laughed, it all looked daft, comedy saved Britain. Illusions of divinity, each great dictator has them. You can't withstand a culture that is built on pure sarcasm. So when they drop the bomb, or if by zombies we have all been bitten, though the world's in smoke, we'll get the joke. Comedy saved Britain. In the abyss, we'll take the piss. Comedy saved Britain. It's true, isn't it? It's true. I did actually base that song in part upon an essay I remember reading many, many years ago now by some eminent 20th century historian, I don't remember who, one of your A.J.P. Taylor's, one of that crowd. And he was genuinely of the opinion that one of the main reasons that Britain did not succumb to either fascism or communism in the early 20th century, when most of Europe was going one way or the other, was our inability to take anything quite that seriously. And he's not wrong, is he? I mean, when El Presidente strides out onto the balcony, resplendent in jodhpurs and epaulets, to address the adoring throng, all it takes is for one person in the crowd to go, fucking stage of him, and it's all over. Isn't it? It's all over. And it'd be a Scouse who said it as well, wouldn't it? So that's the other side of my family, dead fucking Scouse. My dad's family, the Benjamin in Liverpool, since the Doomsday Book, and I mean Book, alright. And if the British are the most sarcastic people in the world, then the Scouts are sort of sarcasm ninjas, aren't they? Sort of sarcasm squared is what they do in Liverpool. It's not so much that the Scouts have a great facility with sarcasm, it's their sole means of fucking expression. There hasn't been a single non-ironic sentence spoken in Liverpool since before the potato famine. Every Scout's baby's first words are, oh, what, yeah? But having agreed, and I think we have, that comedy can have this kind of benefit on a societal, perhaps even an intra-societal level, it definitely has that effect on a microcosmic level, on a social level, on an interpersonal level. We've all seen this happen. I know we have all of you been in a situation where, I don't know, some kind of gathering, some social function, somebody's committed some hideous faux pas, and the atmosphere is curdling like yogurt, and then, thank Christ, somebody manages to get a well-aimed zinger into the conversation, and everybody cracks up, you're full about, the tension is broken, you can move on with it. You've all been in that, maybe some of you are in that situation right now. I can only apologise, I'm going to tell you. These are the zingers, folks, what can I tell you? But I'm sure you've also all heard the expression, laughter is the best medicine. You heard that? Yeah, it's bollocks, by the way, it's morphine. Oh, that's the best medicine, seriously. Oh yeah, we've generally got to be in screaming agony before they'll let you have any, but it's almost worth it. Last time I managed to get hold of some was when I made the schoolboy error of trying to treat stomachache with ibuprofen. Don't do that, folks. Don't do that. It is a good anti-inflammatory. It's also a powerful gastric irritant. Within the space of 2 tablets, I went from being a bit crampy to feeling like I was being slowly disemboweled. And the next thing I know, I'm lying on a trolley in Kingston A&E, screaming the walls down, till finally, thank Christ, Nursey rocks up with a big syringe full of old Uncle Lou Reed's liquid happiness. And I'm like, it's such a perfect day. Ooh, that's nice. Can I get some of this to go? No, okay, never mind. Wow. See why people do this on the weekends. Oh, that's the best medicine. Penicillin's probably the second best, isn't it? If we're being honest. Let's put laughter in at number 3, shall we? Just to be generous. The point I'm trying to make is this. While it is definitely a thing, I do kind of sometimes feel that the curative properties of comedy can be somewhat overstated. hardcore feeling. I need humorous healing. I don't want no operation, just some piquant observation. In agony I'm squealing. I need humorous healing. Doctor, 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 please tell me your shaggy dog stories. Number one liners and baby, my thoughts have got into the giving toilet humor. I'm dizzy and I'm reeling. I need humorous healing. Don't want no penicillin, folks. I just need some knock-knock jokes. If my skin is green and peeling, I need humorous healing. No need to drill into my brain. Crack me up and I'm a rider's brain. Ooh, humor is healing. Make me laugh and I be grooving. It's like that Robin Williams movie. Ooh, humor is healing. Tell me some dad jokes today and I can piss myself in a half a way. Ooh, humor is healing. One criticism that has been leveled at me over the years is that my stuff doesn't take enough risks. Marvin Gaye's family sue everyone. They are the most litigious motherfucker. You've not heard the last of that, trust me. That's going to bite me in the ass. You just watch. Fuck it, bring it. I can do with the publicity. You are hereby ordered to surrender all proceeds of this sum. Certainly. Would you like me to surrender them again? So, having talked about the benefits that comedy can bring us on a social level and on a societal level, as societies and cultures and indeed as individuals, let us now, with the inevitable death spiral into introspection and self-absorption that all comedian solo shows must now take. Don't look at me, I don't make the fucking rules. Let us talk about the benefits that comedy has brought me. You might know, well, what the fuck no. Well, I've managed to eke some kind of living at it for the last 30 years or so. That ain't nothing. Don't worry, I'm not going to do an autobiographical section. You did not come here to listen to me talk about me, or need to sing about me. That's the other thing. The music's been part of it since day one, mainly because it just never occurred to me that it wouldn't be, if I'm honest. Kind of first time you're called upon to be funny and entertaining by yourself, it's kind of panic stations, isn't it? It's like, what can I do? What are all the things I can do? You know, a lot of comedians start off doing something like that, you know, playing a guitar, maybe a little keyboard, singing songs, or doing something else that's a bit more kind of variety, like, you know, ventriloquism or magic, or doing lots of impressions. What normally happens is after about the first 2 or 3 years, they suddenly get all self-conscious about it. And they get sort of, this is a crutch, this is a gimmick, I must cast it aside and embrace the purity of the form. I don't know why that never happened to me. One possible explanation, I have no idea what self-conscious means or what it feels like on account of something else you're hearing a lot about in comedy these days. I refer, of course, to neurodivergence. Yep, my audience is pretty much self-selecting these days. Where my spurgs at? Don't know about you, I'm not happy about the divergence bit. Neurodivergent. What are they trying to imply by that? That we're going the same way as everybody else and then just managed to take a wrong turn somewhere? I don't know about you all, I prefer to think of myself as neuro some other fucking place entirely. But I don't know if you've been to see any of my shows in the last 4 or 5 years, either at Edinburgh or on the road, but I have been on a bit of an adventure. Neurodivergence-wise, a bit of a neurodivergence quest. Basically, ever since my eldest kid, Mika, got diagnosed autistic about 6 years ago, and everything that's weird about him It's all the same shit that's always been weird about me. And like my entire life started, perhaps for the first time, to make a modicum of sense when perceived through that particular prism. So I have now spent the last few years trying to work out what, if anything, is actually fucking going on a bit. It's very difficult to get any kind of diagnosis at my age, it really is. I think people figured if you've made it past 50 and you're autistic, it's nobody else's fucking problem now. But if you think your kid might be autistic or ADHD or any of the others, do try and get them diagnosed if you can. Very important, if you can get that diagnosis, it entitles you to all kinds of help and support that isn't there. But I've had a couple of developments in my own life in the last couple of years. Primary principle among which is meeting my amazing new partner, and indeed now, as of tomorrow, 6 months wife. She thought I'd forgotten, 29th, baby. Oh, it's in here, don't you worry. Kathy, who we've been together with for about, almost exactly 2.5 years, isn't it? We got married on the 2nd anniversary of the day we met. It's all very spooky. Because, and Kathy wants me to point out that she helps me write a lot of these jokes, and also wants me to make a full and frank apology for the fact that there are no women in the history of comedy. That is true. Did occur to you'll have to read it, but the trouble with the history is it's written by the blokes, and they tend to forget the women. I should probably do a new version of it and bug Victoria Wood in there just for the fuck of it. But here's the thing. Kathy, bless her, is bang in the middle of the fucking spectrum, as indeed are all her kids. As it turns out, are both of mine. We have 5 autistic teenagers between us, okay? We are the neurochaotic Brady bunch, right? But anyway, the first thing Kathy said when she met me was, I don't know about autistic, but you, mate, are definitely ADHD. Now, I'd always resisted the idea of being ADHD, folks, mainly, if I'm honest, because of that H. You know, look at the H. More up with the H, these fuckers that H doing there? Because like most people of my generation, I associate the word hyperactive with, uncontrollably naughty 6-year-olds who are incapable of sitting still and just bounce off the walls breaking things. And I've got to say, folks, of all the things I had difficulty with as a child, sitting still, not one of them. Oh, I mastered sitting still at a surprisingly early age, Teignmouth, and my sitting still skills have only improved over the decades to the point where now I reckon I could sit still for Britain at the Olympics if I had to. There are anacondas who've just swallowed a pig who are more bursting with expendable energy than I am on any given afternoon. But she said, no, that's not the only thing. Hyperactive doesn't just mean bouncing off the walls. It can just mean noisy brain. And I thought, oh, well, that I do have. Oh, you think I'm loud on the outside? You want to try it in here, mate? In here, it's like a riot kicking off at San Diego Comic-Con between an idling jet fighter and an AC/DC concert, with me screaming over the top of it. And that's just when I'm trying to get to sleep. So anyway, Kathy sorted me out with a couple of online diagnoses, ADHD first, then autism a couple of weeks later. So the ADHD one came up first. And if I do say so myself, Teignmouth, I fucking nailed my ADHD. I said, oh, it's extraordinary, absolute triumph. Even my legendary Missing Vowels run on Only Connect Season 16, Episode 10 pales in comparison with my triumph that I would say I knocked it out of the park if I had any understanding of sporting metaphors. I passed my ADHD assessment before it had happened by failing to submit any of the proper paperwork and then forgetting it was on. First rule of ADHD Club, you do not turn up to ADHD Club. So they were very nice. They agreed to rearrange it for a couple of weeks later, and I've got all the fucking forms, and then I'm sat down in front of a laptop, and there's a little doctor's head on the screen. And he's like, now, Mr. Ben, this is just a preliminary assessment. At the end of this, we will assess all the relevant data. Hope to come up with a formal diagnosis some point in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Is that good? And I said, yeah, that's fine. And then he started asking questions. And after about 25 minutes of my first answer, he said, you really are, Mr. Man. Yes, you are. So apparently that was me, all ADHD. Now, autism was next. A couple of weeks later, like I say, got all the forms and sat down. There he is again, little head on my laptop, and he asked me questions for like an hour. And at the end of the hour, he kind of mops his brow, takes a breath, and goes, oh, Mr. Ben, here's the thing. You are so no ADHD. We can't tell if you're autistic or not. So what you need to do now is go away and get on the right medication, and then we will try you again a few months down the line. And then what happened, folks? The entire country ran out of ADHD meds all at once. Cheers, Brexit. You really are the gift that goes untaken. So that whole process is still ongoing. I still don't know. I still don't fucking know if I'm autistic. Come back next year, all right? Tell them to get me back. I'll tell you next year. Who knows? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Maybe that could be the theme of next year's show. Mitch Bennin, turns out I'm just a prick. But of course, the other thing which has happened in the 6 or 7 years that I've been whanging on about this is that literally half the bloody comedy industry has come out as autistic or ADHD or both. Indeed, as my old pal Ed Burns said about his own diagnosis in his show last year, frankly, when you're a comedian, being diagnosed ADHD is not like being told you have skin. Ed Burns, I suddenly realised when I wrote that joke, as of last summer, I have now known for 30 years? How the fuck does that work? Don't get me wrong, I'm okay with the idea that I'm old enough to have known Ed for 30 years. How is he old enough to have known me for 30 years? When we met in 1994, we were a couple of peach-fuzzed indie kids. It's now 2025, for fuck's sake. He is still a peach-fuzzed indie kid, and I'm whatever the fuck this is. But in any event, all this incredible prevalence of neurodivergence in the comedy industry does actually have some quite serious implications, both for us, the performers, and I've got to say, for you, the audience, as well. In our case, it means, well, we've all been abusing the wrong drugs for our entire career. Instead of sitting around chopping out great railway sleeper-sized lines of gack and then sitting up till 9 in the morning giving it, you know what's great about me, you basically everything. We could have been sitting there calmly handing round the Ritalins, having a nice civilised conversation about trains. Going home and sorting out our sock drawers, that's what we could have been doing. Meanwhile, for you, the audience, it means that you all have been laughing at the disabled for the last 40 years. Yeah, there you are, thinking you are just chortling along with the counterculture. No, you've been smugly deriding hapless simpletons, and I trust you'll thoroughly ashamed yourselves. But, it wouldn't make any bloody difference if we all changed our drugs. We'd all still be obsessed with our own bloody popularity because it's a social media age, and everybody is. And it is very easy to get entirely the wrong idea about how big a deal you are. I ain't never been a sociable guy. I ain't never had so many friends. It's easier to hang out online, or it's easier to pretend. My social media following is quite considerable. You think I was a popular guy, but if you take a look at their profiles, you will understand the reason why. All my friends are porn bots. I am alone in here, there's no denying it. All my friends are porn bots, and their intelligence is artificial as their tits. My following on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is 10% oldest, 10% newbies, 80% imaginary ladies with big boobies. All my friends are porn bots. I should have realized the truth much sooner, should have figured it all out quick. When I said, what did we think of last night's Inside Number 9? And they said, baby, I miss your dick. What? There's nothing in their profiles but some scary looking links, which so far I've managed to resist. I'm gonna hang out at Pornhub, cause at least most of those women exist. All my friends are porn bots, and they don't know or care who I am. All my friends are porn bots, even my stalkers are Nigerian phishing scammers. I read their comments and I begin to sigh. Oh why, oh why, oh why, oh why, oh why, oh why do they never say a word but see my nudes in bio? All my friends are porn bots. the subject of Nigerian fishing scams, while it is true that I and my old showbiz pal Emma Kennedy did get together with our professional quizmate Dan Adler and put together an Only Connect team a few years ago, and we did indeed apply to get on the show through the regular channels, and we did indeed succeed in getting on season 16, and it is also the case that on episode 10 of season 16, I pulled off a missing vowels run, about which songs will forever be sung, only by myself. It is nonetheless also true that we didn't do very well at Only Connect. We only got through like round 2 or something. It's really disappointing. I did, however, win Celebrity Mastermind in 2016. That's what you know. Oh, yeah. Oh, I achieved 2 things that night, folks. 1, won a rather nice little glass trophy. 2, I stretched the definition of the term celebrity beyond all previous limits. Because this is actually like the 3rd or 4th time that asked me to go on, and on every previous occasion I've been bumped off at the last minute when I imagine the genuinely famous person who couldn't make his fucking mind up finally went, oh, okay then. So, right, I thought, right, I'm actually getting on. There's no fucking way I'm losing. So, oh no, I revised out of a mastermind than I did for my A-levels. That's not even a gag. Seriously. Specialist subject, in case you're wondering, Peter Cook, while we're on the subject of peaking too early. But I was not actually in the lead at half time, coming out the specialist round, going into general knowledge. I was actually a couple of points adrift behind a very young guy, kids TV presenter I think he was. His chosen subject, WWE wrestling, about which I know less than nothing, but his knowledge was quite encyclopedic. But I actually remember thinking to myself, sitting there on that little row of 4 chairs at half time, thinking to myself, it's fine, relax, you got this. You're 46, he's 22, you're going to kick his ass clean off in the general knowledge round, as indeed I did. Because there is an alarming tendency I have observed among some of the young people today, some of the younger millennials, the Gen Zs, or whatever the fuck the next lot are called, not all of you, and hashtag not all Gen Zs, right? But, not only do they know nothing about anything which happened before they got here, they are frankly insulted by the idea that they might want to know anything about anything which happened before they got. No, it's true. I was running a Christmas quiz for some friends of mine, Christmas before last, right? And I'm having a great time because I'm presenting it. I've set all the questions. I'm in my element. And halfway through the night, I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking, oh, the grown-ups look like they're having a good time. The kids are starting to look a bit angry. And literally, I'd asked a question about halfway through. It was about, I don't know, like the goodies or something. You know, not like the fucking Dead Sea Scrolls. You know? And this guy was about 28, I think, stood up in the middle of the room and actually went, oh, come on, man, that was before I was, like, born, yeah? And I said, mate, the Battle of Agincourt was before I was born, but I don't fucking won. But I've figured it out. They're not stupid, they're not lazy, they're not complacent. Technology has altered the way our minds develop. These kids have never had to retain any information about anything because they've never existed in a world without Wikipedia and Google and handheld devices by means of which anyone can instantly access any information ever known to the human race. Gen Xers and boomers in the room. Remember what research used to look like? They're getting to bust at a big library? Spending all day scouring the shelves for the one and only reference work ever published on the subject in question, finding it, getting it down on the shelves, and then seeing it's the 1951 edition. And as such, everything in it is wrong and probably racist. Whereas the kids have never had to download anything. It all just keeps streaming. But, you know, it's happening to us as well. Exactly the same thing is happening to us retroactively, more slowly and insidiously, but it's changing our brains as well. Gen X is in the room. My people, my folks. How many phone numbers do you know off the top of your head right now? Second question, how many phone numbers did you used to know? Yeah, back when you were a kid, you had a fucking Rolodex in your skull, didn't you? Every number you ever needed, your number, all your relatives' numbers, all your mates' numbers, every boy or girl you ever went out with, all your favourites, all in there. Now, they're all in the phone, and I've got 3. 3 phone numbers up it. I can remember my own number, which kind of helps. Slightly awkwardly, I do not remember, nor do I think I've ever actually known my wife Kathy's number, but I do remember my ex-wife's phone number. Because me and the ex bought our first ever mobile phones together in the same shop in 1997. The numbers were 1 digit apart. We've never changed them. And 01 811 8055. 70s kids. When we are on a drip in a hospice, our minds laid waste by Alzheimer's, such as we no longer know our own names or our children's faces, we will go to our graves remembering the phone number for Swap Shop. Sing it with me now, friends! London! W12 8QT. It's never going away. It's never going away. There's imprinting and then there's carved into the inside of your fucking skull. That's the way it works. Oh, come on, I mean, you can't take it away from this. It's not like we wouldn't have used all this shit if we'd had it. Jesus, Wikipedia, what an incredible resource. What wouldn't we have done with that back in our own college days? But, it is not perfect because nothing is put together by human beings. In particular, it is vulnerable to vandalism and mischief. In particular, what I heard about recently, obituary bombing. You heard about this? What you do is this. The very second that you hear that a famous person has died, you get on Wikipedia, find their page, you hit edit, and you add an interesting but completely made up bit of information. And then see how many newspapers mention it in their obituaries. The one that got everybody with about 10 years ago was a gentleman by the name of Ronnie Hazelhurst. You may not know why you know that name. You do know that name. It has filed past your eyes hundreds of times. He was the BBC's main in-house light entertainment composer for decades. He wrote all the theme tunes for all the classic sitcoms, all the classic game shows. And when he died about 10 years ago, I'm fairly sure that every single obituary column mentioned that he actually carried on writing into the 90s and noughties and indeed composed Reach for the Stars for S Club 7. No, he didn't. Some cheeky bastard stuck that in there. But of course, the main problem with all of these things, as in the case with over-reliance on any form of technology, is you are so screwed when it inevitably goes down on you. 'Twas in the year of 21, the 4th day of October, the people went in search of memes to have a chuckle over. But when they sat down to log on, error messages they found, a freezing chill passed all the world the day Facebook went down. At last the people cried aloud, how shall we now survive without broadcasting every minor detail of our lives? Conspiracy theorists of the world began to cringe and shrink as they tried to function while nobody told them what to think. Now influencers panicked for the want of Instagram, saying, how shall I now show the world how fabulous I am? They wrote a message to their friends, their tale of woe to tell, but they couldn't send that either, for WhatsApp was down as well. For 6 long hours we shivered in oblivion, and then somebody thought to switch it off and switch it on again. The people cried with joy to see it was just as before, and sang the hymns of gratitude to Zuckerberg once more. As years roll by, we'll tell this fearful story over Zoom, of how we had to talk to people actually in the room. What was the cause? we'll never know. But life online went on, and at least we still had Twitter, till 'twas fucked up by Elon. See you all in about 20 minutes.